Hello, everybody. I hope that everybody can hear me now. Welcome to the Global Virtual Lecture Hall. Welcome to the AI lectures from Tokyo. Because this is a very special type of lecture, unlike the lectures that you're normally used to, there will today be two parts. There is first going to be welcome and introductory part in which we will tell you what the whole lecture series is about, what this experiment is about. We will introduce all aspects, technology and organization-wise, that are involved. And we also have representatives from the various institutions, from the various universities and research institutes that are participating in the experiment. We have, and I'm very happy to say that the top representatives of these institutions today with us in this virtual lecture hall. So I'm sure that this adds to the event character and to the glamour of this event. So this is the first part, kind of introduction, overview, motivation of this lecture series. And then the second part will be a regular lecture. I mean, it's going to be regular, a normal academic lecture, if you like, but it's just going to be held in the virtual lecture theater instead of just in a regular physical lecture theater. Or I should say rather semi-virtual, because it's partly real and partly virtual. Now, for the first part, I'm very happy that we have a host institution who has invested a lot of time and effort into this project, and I'm very happy that I can now, for the first part, for the introductory section, turn to Professor Yasuo Kuniyoshi, who will host the whole lecture series and who will also act as a moderator of the Tokyo site, and I will just pass the floor on to him to welcome all the sites. So please, Professor Kunz.
Thank you, Rolf, and hello world. I'm Yasuo Kuniyoshi of the Department of Mechanical Informatics, School of Information Science and Technology. It is a great honor and pleasure to be able to host this excellent project and to attend the excellent lecture series given by Professor Pfeifer. So, well, I am happy to announce the starting of this lecture series, and I would like to call each site participating in this lecture. Okay. First, Zurich, moderator Simon Bovet.
Yes.
Can you hear?
Yeah, hello.
Hello.
Good morning, Professor Kuniyoshi. So it's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah. Good to see you.
Me too.
Okay. Then next site, Warsaw, moderator Professor Witold Kosinski. Can you hear me? Warsaw, please come in. Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Speaking.
Yes, Warsaw speaking.
Yes. Once more, Warsaw speaking. Hello, Koshinsky from Warsaw. Morning.
Morning. Good to see you. Welcome to the lecture. Okay, the next slide, Beijing moderator, Professor Tan Xiahua. Hello?
Hi. Hello, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, very well.
Hello, this is Professor Tan from Beijing. Oh.
Good to see you, Professor Xiahua. Speaking. Okay, the next slide, Munich, moderator Dr. Mark de Camps. Can you hear me?
Good morning, Tokyo. Welcome from Munich. We have about 50 people here and we can hear you very well.
Great. So welcome to the lecture.
Thank you.
And I would like to welcome all other sites around the world who will be participating through the internet. Okay, so I'll hand it over to Professor Pfeifer, please.
Much for the introduction. So we see that all the sites are connected, and I'm happy that everybody is kind of joining us in this lecture hall. What I would like to do now, before we have the official welcomes from the various representatives of the universities, participating institutions, I would like to give an introduction into the contents of these lectures so that you know what you're going to be hearing over the next several weeks. And I would also like to motivate why we are doing this project specifically about the field of artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence, so this is going to be a lecture series about modern artificial intelligence. You will hear more why we say modern artificial intelligence. First, some historical comments. Artificial intelligence has a very turbulent history, as some of you may know. Originally, the idea was half a century ago. It's got a history of about half a century already. Originally, the idea was that intelligence is mostly to do with computer programs. So thinking was conceived as computer programs. People were talking about electronic brains, and I guess one of the ideas was that, for example, take something that we all think requires a lot of intelligence, the game of chess, playing chess. I think that was a typical that was a typical example what people in artificial intelligence were trying to achieve. And now Herbert Simon, Nobel Prize in Economics and one of the founders of the field of artificial intelligence, said initially, once we will have a computer program that can beat the world champion, we will know what human intelligence is all about. We all know, and probably many of you remember 1997, 11th of May in New York City, there was a world championship. The computer program Deep Blue playing against Garry Kasparov, the world champion at the time, and the computer program actually won for the first time in history the entire championship, entire world championship. So we do have computer programs that will win against most of you, I can guarantee, but still I don't think that we have learned very much about how human thinking, how natural forms of intelligence function. Well, I think there have been quite a number of successes in this classical perspective that views thinking or intelligence as computer programs or algorithms. But there are also, I think, a significant number of failures. And the failures, I think, have to do with more natural forms of intelligence. We still do not understand well how perception works, perception in the real world, how we recognize a face in a crowd, how we manipulate objects. We don't have very good machines for perception or for manipulation of objects. And this is why in the mid-'80s, then this notion of embodiment came about, and one of the kind of champions of embodiment, if you like, was Rodney Brooks. Rodney Brooks, by the way, just as an aside, the tool that I'm using here is a so-called smartboard. I can write on this. It's a bit slow because the smartboard is basically made for static images. And when I write, it's kind of changing image, and then it tries to grab one frame after the other, which slows down the process. So Rodney Brooks from MIT suggested that this classical view, intelligence as a computer program, forget about it. It didn't lead anywhere. If we are to understand natural forms of intelligence, we have to look at entire organisms interacting with the real physical and social world. And so this was kind of the notion of embodiment that then emerged from this discussion. And this is what this lecture series is going to be about. The role of the body in human intelligence. Now, artificial intelligence has essentially three goals. The first one is understanding biological forms of intelligence, and of course here we have humans. I think ultimately it will be humans that we're interested in, but also animals. One thing, we want to understand natural forms of intelligence. Second, we want to understand principles of intelligent systems that apply not only to biological systems, but also. We want ultimately to come up with an abstract theory of intelligence that also applies to artificial systems, because we want to build artificial intelligent systems, and then we want to develop useful artifacts and applications. Now, ultimately, we're interested in understanding, of course, human-level intelligence. Now, why do we choose artificial intelligence for this lecture series? First, I think it's scientifically interesting. It's technologically interesting, highly relevant. I have here an example from Japan Times. Japan Times is one of the major English-speaking newspapers in Japan, English-language newspapers in Japan, and what you see here on this is an intelligent robot, a kind of snake-like robot searching for survivors in rubble after earthquakes or after other kinds of disasters. I think this kind of application has attracted a lot of attention recently, also because of the recent surge in terrorism worldwide. Another application, maybe some would consider that slightly less useful, some probably more useful. This is a Tai Chi robot, Hope 2. It can actually also act as a sumo wrestler, which was developed by Fujitsu. This appeared, this is just to show you that this is very hot. These are very hot topics of interest to everybody. This was in, I think, the last or the one before last issue of Spiegel, which is a large and the most important German weekly magazine, political weekly magazines. I think it's also of very general interest, and in the last issue of Spiegel, this German weekly, there was a large article about the birth of intelligence, how children learn to think. Intelligence is just a really important topic that is of interest to anyone. You can tell parents of children anything. You can say the children are lazy, they're sloppy, they're fresh, they're not polite, but never, ever say they are not intelligent. Okay. I think it's also important for society and for the way we see the world around us and ourselves, the image that we have of human beings. And here I have to issue a warning, because once you hear these lectures, and if you attend these lectures, you will never be able to think about the world the way you did before or the way you do now. Your thinking will be changed. Maybe your comfortable thinking now will be changed. And so I think there is a definite danger. There is a very definite danger. So if you're scared, then you should not attend these lectures. There is a very definite danger. And we've had, for example, psychology students attending the lectures. They said afterwards, well, that was actually very interesting, but now we have a hard time motivating ourselves to learn the things that we should learn for other classes in the examinations. So please be warned that this may be dangerous attending these lectures. It's not only of social importance and, the way, or philosophical importance, if you like, but it's also of political importance. And here is also taken from Japan Times, when the Japanese Prime Minister Junichiro Koizumi was visiting Czechia. Here he took along with him on a diplomatic mission the robot Asimo, who you can see here shaking hands with the Czech Prime Minister. So I think that intelligent robots, will probably play a major role in future diplomacy. Okay. Now, is intended for a highly interdisciplinary audience. So there are no technical prerequisites for this lecture. I think it's a difficult lecture, and it's a demanding and challenging lecture. But you do not need any, let's say, mathematical background or engineering background. I think just what you basically know about the computers will be more than enough. So it's targeted towards an interdisciplinary audience, and we typically not only have engineers and computer scientists, but we also have psychologists, we have philosophers, we have medical doctors, we have biologists, mathematicians, physicists, and so on. So if you're not from computer science or engineering, don't be deterred. It's really an interdisciplinary kind of lecture. Okay. Now, I said an experiment. It's an experiment in global teaching. And as a subject matter, we use the field of artificial intelligence. Now, I think we're now into the 21st century, well into the 21st century. We are in the age of globalization. We have advanced communication and video conferencing technology, and I think it's time that we start experimenting and exploiting this technology for teaching purposes. And as we go along, I will be explaining step by step a little bit about this. We will also right now then have something about this project, and after that we will have a short presentation about the technology that is underlying this project. Now what we're doing now, we're switching to the Zurich site to Dr. Britta Glatzeder, who is a senior research associate in our laboratory in Zurich and is the project manager for this project, AI Lectures from Tokyo. You will see in a second why we actually do very much need a project manager. Now, what you see here is the software for what's called application sharing. So we can share an application. Now, currently, I am controlling the application here from the smart board. And all the other sites in Tokyo, in Beijing, Zurich, Warsaw, and Munich can see the application that I'm controlling here. Now, Britta Glatzeder in Zurich will show a few slides about the project management. So she is trying to take over the control of the application sharing. And so I say, well, do I allow this? Yes, of course, I allow this. And we can switch now to Britta. Hello, Britta.
Hello, Rolf.
Are you there? So maybe, I can see you, Britta. I switch to full screen mode here. However, okay, let me see. Okay, so now, do we have your presentation here? Okay, can you take over, Britta? We can't hear the sound. Can you take over, Britta? Can you switch on the microphone, please?
It's on.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. I'm taking over now, okay? I'm very happy and honored to welcome all of you here today. I think it's quite an experience for all of us to be here in this semi-virtual space with people from 5 countries on 2 continents congregating. My name is Britta Glatzeder, and I'm responsible for the overall project management of the AI lectures from Tokyo. This is technologically as well as organizationally highly complex and unusual project. So I think you would like to know a little bit about the making of. My colleague Hanspeter Kunz, head of technology, will tell you about the technological intricacies in a moment. And I will tell you a little bit about my job of organizing this project. So let me just briefly glance back to the point where it all started. Can I have the next slide? Yes, thank you. No, the one before. At the time when he usually gives his traditional Christmas lecture. So since he didn't intend to give up on this, he just decided to give the Christmas lecture in Tokyo and broadcast it via video conferencing technology to his students in Zurich. It turned out to be a major event with more than 1,000 students attending, and it was a real success. So the perfect occasion to repeat something like this came up when Rolf Pfeifer was appointed to be a guest professor at the Tokyo University this year. And since he also got appointed to be a 21st century COE professor at the Tokyo University, things, of course, have to be performed on a much larger scale. And so we decided to broadcast a whole series of lectures that Rolf Pfeifer is going to give at the Tokyo University from Tokyo to more than one university. We thought we should get global and get several universities worldwide involved. So that was our plan. We had our kickoff meeting via video conference, of course, in Tokyo and Zurich in early March. And from then on, we practically worked with ever-increasing intensity to get where we are today. So here are the goals that we formulated for our project. So first of all, of course, we want to present a series of lectures on modern artificial intelligence to a number of universities around the globe. Second, we want to make the ideas and concepts of modern embodied AI known to students and interested non-students worldwide. Third, we want to establish an AI community. Fourth, we want to make teaching and learning more exciting for students and for teachers. Fifth, we want to experiment with novel ways of transferring knowledge using video conferencing technology in non-conventional setups. And finally, we would like to use science as a tool for intercultural communication. So with this mission statement ahead of us, we started out with a very small core team of 6 people coming from the AI lab in Zurich and from Professor Kuniyoshi's lab at the Tokyo University. And not only were our human resources rather scarce, but we also had very little money available, at least measured by the dimension of our project. So what I had to do in the first place was to find more people, to create a team with the right people who would support us and would make it possible to realize this project. So, as I said, from the very beginning, our goal was to set up a global team and to have universities from all over the world cooperating. For reasons of time difference, we had to concentrate on universities in Europe and Asia, and that is the reason why there are no American institutions or universities involved. But of course, these people can watch the AI lectures on the internet. We live stream them, and you can see them on our website. For technical reasons, at least for the time being, at the time being, we also had to limit the number of universities to 5. So we made contact to a lot of universities, and after weeks of negotiating and discussing the technological requirements, we chose our partners in this project to be the University of Zurich, the University of Beijing, of Munich, the Polish-Japanese Institute of Information Technology in Warsaw, Poland, and of course our host, the University of Tokyo. So we have this setup that you can see here. And the next step was to build up teams at those different sites that would fulfill our requirements and work together with us. And now we, of course, use the high technology communication apparatus to get this whole thing going, and thousands of emails were sent and instant messages and phone calls and so on and so on. And funnily enough, it turned out that old school personal visits using analog media like trains and planes turned out to be absolutely crucial in a highly technological project like this. So to make a long story short, within a few months, we managed to build up a team of over 90 people. So here's a slide with all the names of the people who are involved in this project, and I think it looks really quite impressive. And I really would like to thank all of you, the team in Beijing, in Tokyo, in Zurich, in Warsaw, in Munich. Thank you very, very much for your excellent work, for your stamina, and for your good spirits. Without you, we could have never realized that. The same goes for our sponsors, and I really want to especially mention here the University of Zurich and the TVA Uni people, the University of Tokyo, and Switch especially, and Solution Park. Thank you very much. So that's so much for the making of, and now the time has come where we see how and if this all works out. We should be aware, as Rolf Pfeifer said in the beginning, that it's an experiment. It may work, it may fail. In any case, we all have learned a lot, and there are 2 aspects that I would like to emphasize of being of great importance for a project like this. And that's first, people. You really have to get the right people together, and you have to take care of the right social engineering and getting the communication management right. And second, it's the content. Projects like these are content-driven. The technology may be as good as it can. You don't get people interested if you don't have prime and exciting scientific content, and of course someone who knows the art of presenting this content. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Britta. We had this short presentation about the project management. Now we're going to have a short presentation by Hanspeter Kunz, who has been in charge of technology, and he will explain a little bit. I think it's important also because we want to make this, ultimately, we want to make this very interactive. Now we're, basically talking and you're sitting there, but we want to make this more interactive. And I think in order to understand the interactivity, it's important to understand, at least to some extent, the technology that's actually involved. Okay, so we now switch to Hanspeter Kunz, who is at Switch. Switch is the Swiss Educational and Research Network management, and he will, so that's basically where all the signals that we're generating worldwide are concentrated and distributed. So Hanspeter, can you take over, please? Hanspeter?
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yes?
Yep.
Thank you, Rolf. So I'll tell you a little bit about the technology that's running in the background of the AI lectures. And as mentioned already, the AI lectures connect sites which are distributed all over the world and does this in a very interactive setting. And this, of course, requires quite a bit of technology. The technical setup basically consists of 4 parts. One part is the video conferencing, over which you can see and hear me right now. Then we have the application sharing. As already mentioned, we use this for transmitting the slides. And we have the instant messaging, which is running in the background. And we enable you to join users on the internet using live streaming. So first, a few words about video conferencing. Let's say we have 2 sites, and each site is equipped with a camera, a projector, a microphone, and a sound system, and these 2 sites are connected over the internet. Then, these 2 sites have the opportunity to talk together and see each other, or in other words, to have a video conference. And thus, video conferencing on one hand involves real-time coding and decoding of video and audio signals. This is done by the codec. And it also involves fast transmission of these signals over large distances. And if you do this over the internet and like to have kind of a good quality, you need a bandwidth of about 800 kilobits per second. And this is feasible only to do over the internet since a few years. And all the 5 sites joining the AI lectures have basically this setup. And although it might sound quite easy, there are a lot of technical details involved. For example, you have to carefully control the light conditions, the camera viewpoint, adjust sound levels, avoid the local feedback, and also the echoes which might appear over the video conferencing system. And last but not least, you have to carefully configure your network connection to provide the needed bandwidth. So, if you want to connect 5 sites in one video conference, you need an MCU, multi-point control unit, which is kind of the conference server. So all the sites are connected to the MCU, which is, as Rolf already mentioned, is a switch, which I'm already. And the sites send their audio and video signals to the MCU, where the signals are mixed and sent back to the sites. And this is the image you can actually see. And in this way, it is possible that everybody can see basically everybody else. Then we have a totally independent network connecting the 5 sites, which is the application sharing, and which is used to transmit, to broadcast the slides. I have to mention that it's not possible to send video over the application sharing because it's optimized to transmit only still images, but this with a high quality. And there we have another network connecting the 5 sites, which is not depicted on this scheme, which is the instant messaging. And we use the instant messaging as a kind of background communication network where the technical staff can chat and solve problems without interfering with the ongoing lectures. I like to try it out right now. So I say hello to Armin in Munich, and hopefully he will reply. Okay, thank you, Armin. And the last thing I like to mention is the live streaming. With the live streaming, we enable users all around the world to join the lectures over the internet. And live streaming works in the following way. The video and audio signals from the video conferencing system are recorded, downsampled and compressed, and broadcasted together with the slides over the internet. And in the contrast to the video conferencing, this communication is only one way. But the users or the participants in the live streaming, they can still ask questions using our online chat room available on the Tokyo Lectures homepage. I hope you got an idea of the complexity of the technology which is behind the AI lectures, and although these technologies, they are not new, as far as I know, they have never been used in this combination in connecting both whole lecture halls all over the world and also individuals on the internet. And in this sense, the AI lectures are also a technological experiment. But technology is, of course, only one part of the story. And you need a lot of people and teamwork in order to put it to work. And therefore, I like to thank the people at Switch, where I am right now, and at TV Uni for providing their equipment and sharing their knowledge with me, and being a great help in solving all kinds of technical problems we had. And I'd like to thank the ETH Net and Solution Park for making the live streaming possible. I'd like to thank Armin Rubner, Nathan Lappard, and Lukas Frey for consulting and support. And last but not least, I like to thank all the people involved at the different sites in setting up the technology. And I'd like to thank you for your attention and give the word back to Tokyo.
Okay, well, thank you very much. So, I can maybe take over again. So we've had a statement from Project Management and Technology. Thank you very much, Hanspeter. We now have a short round of welcome addresses. I'm very, very happy that we have representatives. We have the top representatives from the institutions around the world participating in this experiment. And I have the pleasure of first welcoming Professor Hans Weder, who is the rector of the University of Zurich. The University of Zurich is the largest university in Switzerland, about 23,000 students, and he has been very supportive of the project from the very beginning. So I would now like to switch to Zurich to Professor Weder.
Hello. Dear students, ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, on behalf of the University of Zurich, I want to say hello to everybody. The very special thing is that I'm able to greet you all over the world, in Tokyo, Beijing, Warsaw, Munich, and Zurich. This has been made possible by this exciting experimental setting of artificial intelligence lecture. I think it is great that this experiment of global teaching has been set up. And I should like to thank everybody for his or her participation. I particularly want to thank Professor Pfeifer, director of our artificial intelligence laboratory, and all of his collaborators. They have created and supported this experiment with great enthusiasm and professionality. Thank you very much. Artificial intelligence is, I think, a field of research and development with very interesting future prospects. And I'm proud of the fact that the University of Zurich is among the pioneers promoting research in this field. I congratulate all who are participating in this lecture for their engagement and in this promising issue. Promising not only for science, but also for the society as a whole. Research in artificial intelligence, I think, has a growing impact on scientific research and as well on many areas of our everyday life. I find it quite appropriate that this new field is taught and communicated in a new way. Artificial intelligence, I think, fits well with an experiment in distant learning. Please allow me to end my welcome address with a very short reflection. It has become almost a standard statement in the last decade to say that communication has grown worldwide tremendously. The fact is, however, that the means of communication, the instruments of communication have been improved tremendously. The growth of potential communication does not necessarily imply a similar growth of actual communication. One could even suspect that communication has become poorer while the means have become richer. But today, at this day, a powerful instrument of communication is used to enhance actual communication of researchers all over the world. That is what impresses me with regard to this experiment, and I wish you success and pleasure in participating in this lecture. Thank you very much for your attention.
Well, thank you very much, Professor Weder, Rector of the University of Zurich, for these words. We're running a bit short of time, as always, in these things. So let me now turn to the next welcome address. I'm also very happy that Professor Bernd Huber, who is the rector of Ludwig Maximilian University in Munich, will say a few words to us, will welcome us to this virtual lecture hall. I'm personally associated also with the University of Munich. I'm a member of the Human Science Center, and therefore it's a great pleasure for me to welcome Professor Huber. So can we now please switch to the Munich side? Professor Huber?
Hello all around the world. It's a pleasure for me to welcome you to this lecture. In particular, I would like to welcome our various partner universities in this project. I think it's a fascinating and to some extent confusing experience that I'm standing here in this lecture room and you can hear me all around the world, and therefore that's already a sign that the world moves to some extent to a kind of global village, that we can directly communicate with each other, and I think this lecture is one of the most fascinating projects we have currently at our university. And let me say a few words about the University of Munich, just that you learn a little bit about this partner in this project. The University of Munich is one of the largest German universities. We have more than almost 50,000 students. We cover nearly all areas of research, ranging from medicine to the humanities. And of course, artificial intelligence is a subject which is dealt with in many faculties and in many institutes of our university. It is a truly interdisciplinary issue, and it's of course also an international issue, as we can see today. In this project, we have a lot of partners at our university who have worked on this project. In particular, I would like to mention and to thank them Professor Pöppel, who has invested a lot of time in this project, and Armin Rubner, who has done a lot of the practical computer stuff. And the most important thing which I would finally like to express, I wish you an interesting and fascinating lecture, and enjoy this. This is really a great thing. Thank you very much.
Okay, well, thank you very, very much, Professor Huber. I think we have a second statement from the University of Munich. Professor Huber just mentioned Professor Pöppel. Professor Ernst Pöppel is the director of the Institute of Medical Psychology at the University of Munich. He has been interested in the field of artificial intelligence for the last, I think, 15 years or so, and he has also been instrumental in promoting video conferencing technology. So I will now pass the floor to Ernst Pöppel. Ernst, can you take over, please?
Yes, I will try. Welcome from Munich to Tokyo. I think this topic is rather interesting, namely artificial intelligence. I think what we should discuss is also natural intelligence. I think the challenge we have here is to bring the knowledge from the different biological fields and to harvest them towards a better understanding of human or, let's say, organistic intelligence, and then use that knowledge to create perhaps new artifacts, autonomous robots like this. So I hope we have a nice discussion over the next weeks, and I'm looking forward to communication with Warsaw and Zurich and Beijing. It just so happens that the last week of November, a group of us will be in Beijing. So we participate from Munich in Beijing in this AI lecture project. Thank you very much, and take care.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Professor Pöppel, for these words. We, as I said, we're running a bit short of time, which is no surprise, but so I will switch immediately to the next site. I think we have the Warsaw site back in the image. So I would now like to ask Professor Jerzy Nowacki, who is the president of the Polish-Japanese Institute of Information Technology in Warsaw, to say a few words. So can you take over, Professor Nowacki, please? The microphone, it will automatically switch, the video image will switch to your side.
On behalf of the Polish-Japanese Institute of Information Technology, I would like to cordially welcome all the participants of this I would like to very cordially welcome all the participants of this international event. I think that what we are observing here, there is a result of the huge progress of the information technology. And thanks to the development of internet technologies, it is now possible to offer courses of either or study program online. Students and lecturers can now be communicating over long distances. Students can freely choose the time and place of study, whereas lecturers, in our case, do not have to be present at school or even in the given country. They could be at least in the 5 countries like here. And the effective and the courses are delivered effectively, and all the instruction and consultation are in the proper site. Internet-based studies, which is now developing, are made at people who have access to the computer and the internet, and who cannot undertake usual studies because of the work or another reason. Or just the fact that they live apart from the school of their choice. Since the number of people using the Internet in the everyday basis is increasing steadily, the studies should also appeal to those candidates who prefer learning at home or learning in the traditional classroom. So this is one of the main features, that the whole study could be performed in the closed tutor based on the Internet. And we think that this event, in which we are giving the discussion and lecture in the real time, will be the way to the better development of the communication, not only in the education, but also in the science. Thank you very much on the behalf of our institute.
Well, thank you very much, Professor Nowatzki, for these words. We're very happy that we have, I think it fits very well that we have the Polish-Japanese Institute of Information Technology to work, Poland and Tokyo together. Okay, we have two more welcome addresses. I would now like to switch to Beijing, and we have the pleasure of welcoming the president of Beijing University, Professor Ji Hong. And I would now like to switch to Beijing, and please, if you just start talking, then the video conferencing system will switch to your side. Mr. Ji Hong, could you take over, please? If you start talking into the microphone, then automatically your image will be shown in the video conferencing lecture. Problem with the transmission at the moment. I can't see Beijing.
Rolf, Beijing just lost connection a few seconds ago.
Okay. So we will take first, we will switch to a representative of the University of Tokyo and come back to Beijing in just a little while. I have the great pleasure now of welcoming from our host institution, Professor Dr. Sato, who is the Director of Real-World Computing, Real-World Information Systems of the 21st Century COE program. And I'm very happy to say that my visit here, my stay here in Tokyo is supported by this 21st Century CEO program. So, please, Professor Sato.
Good morning, Zurich, Munich, Warsaw, and good afternoon, Beijing. University of Tokyo was established in 1874 as the first national university in Japan, and it is the most renowned one. We have about 2,800 faculty members and about 28,000 students, measuring in all academic disciplines. We belong to the School of Information Science and Technology, which operates the COE program for Information Science and Technology Strategic Core. The COE stands for Center of Excellence, and establishing tight connection with the world-leading researchers and institutes is an important part of that program. The Real-World Information System project of the COE program aims at establishing a new paradigm for human-friendly intelligent environment, integrating robotics, visual and auditory presentation perception, virtual reality, attentive workbench, and human informatics. We strongly believe that embodied cognitive science plays a very important role in this project. This is why we invited Professor Rolf Pfeifer, the world-leading researcher and the founder of the field to boost our research and academic activity. Therefore, it is our great pleasure to host and support the excellent project of AI lecture from Tokyo. We truly look forward to the great success of the lecture series and fruitful academic collaboration. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Professor Sato. I see that we still don't have a signal from Beijing, so I would suggest now on the program we have, if I see that correctly, we're taking a break now, and the idea is we take a relatively long break of, 15 to 20 minutes, and so in the future we will keep the video conferencing system running, and the idea is that also during the break you will be able to ask questions. You will be able to communicate with other sides. You can ask me questions. Maybe some of the students do not want to ask questions, during the actual lecture, but maybe during the break it's okay. So if you would like to ask a question, please ask your moderators or grab a microphone, and then I will try to answer your question either right away, or if I think it's relevant for everybody, then I will talk briefly about it after the break. So we will take a short break, and then I guess we will play the trailer when the break is over. And when you hear the trailer, please go back to your seats for the second part of the lecture, which will then be an actual academic lecture as you will be experiencing them over the next 8 or 10 weeks. So we will now have a break and see you back in about 20 minutes. Okay, thanks very much. So if there are any questions from the various sites, just please feel free to ask them. I'm around here. I'm basically here to answer the questions. Hanspeter?
Yeah, Rolf?
So we had some problems with signal from Beijing. We had some sound problems in Munich.
Yeah, Beijing is a kind of puzzle. We are not able to connect with Beijing right now.
Okay, if we can connect within the next 10-15 minutes, then maybe we can have the statement of Professor Zi Hong right after the break.
Yes. And we would like to try something out, but for this we have to stop the conference and restart it. Is that okay with you?
Okay, did you hear that? So Hanspeter wants to stop and restart the conference because they may be able to solve the problem with Beijing like this, right? Okay, so shall we stop the video conference? But maybe you have to tell everybody, the moderators and the technicians at the sites, to stop the video conference and to restart it. Okay, it's fine with me.
Okay, thanks.
back. Okay, so if there are any questions from any of the sites, Zurich, wenn ihr Fragen habt, könnt ihr die auch immer in der Pause stellen. Könnt ihr auch auf Deutsch stellen, Fragen stellen, wenn ihr lieber wollt. Ich werde dann versuchen, die auf Englisch zu stellen. Um ein bisschen die Schwelle runterzusetzen, ein bisschen die Schwelle zu reduzieren, also dass sie das nicht mehr auf Englisch machen. Aha, okay.
Rolf?
Yes.
Beijing apparently has some serious network problems, so it seems that China is kind of blocked, or the university is blocked from the rest of the world. Good. I'm not sure, but right now it's for them it's impossible to connect.
Okay, well, I think it's not so much of a problem because we have the live internet streaming, and so they will be able to follow the lectures on the internet either during the lectures or after the lectures. I mean, that's one of the purposes of having the live streaming, is to actually have this. Okay, what about what about Warsaw? Hanspeter, do you have any information from Warsaw?
Warsaw has a different kind of problem. We still don't know what's the reason. We can only see and hear them, but they cannot hear us over the video conferencing, but they are using the streaming.
Okay. Excellent. So I think, as we can see from the actually the timer was up to 0, so I think I will stop the timer. And I think we will start the second part of the lecture. So welcome back to this virtual global lecture theater or lecture hall. I have to say that I think that the people who are participating in this project have been doing an excellent job. I think Hanspeter, Britta, and everybody else, Yasuo Kuniyoshi here and his team, and the teams at the various sites, I'm just very impressed that this actually works so well. So now, again, I would like to continue with the experiment, and we will start our first regular lecture. And one of the intentions is also to have this interactive, not only me talking, you listening and falling asleep, but I think we should have this interactive. So the first lecture is going to be about intelligence and eternal conundrum. Conundrum, the word conundrum in English, is a difficult problem, a mystery, something that is hard to crack. And we will talk about it. We will familiarize ourselves with this. Now, just a few preliminary remarks. We always have two parts in our lectures. One is theoretical part, which is the normal academic lecture, as everybody is used to them from the universities. And then we have a second part, which is the latest typically the latest from Japan, because in Japan there's a lot of research, pertinent research in artificial intelligence and intelligent robotics, And today, we have the great pleasure of having a very short presentation by Professor Kuniyoshi, who will talk about a robot that can stand up by itself, here kind of taking a swing, but more about that later directly from Professor Kuniyoshi. Okay, so this implies also the effort that we had to put into this. We reduced the number of lectures from 14, which is the standard, to 10, or actually 8, containing academic content. So they will be somewhat shorter than normal, and this. So for this reason, I think you have to do with all the lectures some additional reading. So there's a textbook, and that goes along with these lectures, which is this book, Understanding Intelligence. And I would kindly ask you to read. I will at the end of the lecture say which chapters you should read in the book so that you can actually follow the lecture. This is because the lectures will be a bit shorter. For those who want to get credit in some sites, they have to do classwork exercises. They're available on our website. We're trying to encourage students between different sites. We're trying to create a community, a worldwide community, so that people in Tokyo can communicate with people in Germany, students in Germany. And so this is very important to us. And there is also a website. And I would now like to quickly switch to the website. So this is the Tokyo Lectures website that probably many of you have already visited. So you probably should register and log in. So let me just here try and log into the website. Okay. Yes. So we can, for example, switch to the Zurich site, see what's going on in Zurich. So here you have the various sites. So you can see in Zurich, so you get some information on the Zurich site, and we can, for example, see, well, what students that have registered for the lecture. We see that 283 students have registered for the lectures, right? Or we can switch, for example, we can see, well, what about Beijing? What does the Beijing site look like? And then we get information about the particular Beijing site and, various. We have, of course, the exercises, content about the lectures, exercises that will be uploaded every week. So please do consult the website. Okay, now please consult the website. Now, as I said, so far it has been only moderately interactive. We've had speakers from various sites, but I would like to get really some interaction between you, the students, and me going. That makes it more interesting for me. So if you are trying to participate, if you would like to participate, please sit in one of the front rows. Hold up your hand until you get the microphone, or ask your moderator. Your moderators can hold up the hand, and then you should speak loudly and clearly and avoid pauses between statements. And as I said before, during the lectures, we have a voice-activated video conferencing system, which means that whoever speaks the loudest into the microphone gets the picture. At the moment, I'm the one who speaks the loudest, so my picture is shown in the video conferencing system. If you grab a microphone and you speak louder, then your image will be shown. Now, whenever you don't speak, and so I would ask the moderators to switch off your microphone so that we don't have accidental switching to the lecture. It doesn't really matter, but it's maybe a bit disturbing. Okay. After the lecture, you can communicate with me over the website. Please feel free to send me email or to contact the project partners. Okay. Now, finally we get to the academic content of the lecture. Today's topics, I would like to characterize intelligence, diversity, compliance, Turing test, Chinese room, intelligence testing, and how to study intelligence. I expect you to know about these topics, to know these terms by next week. So, after this lecture, I will be able to cover some of the content, but not all of it, and I would like to ask you to kindly read about this in the textbook. Okay, so let's start. Now, I would like to make this a bit interactive. You probably came here to hear me tell you what intelligence is all about. What I would like to do is actually it's an experiment. I said this is an experiment, and it may or may not work. Now, I'm going to turn this around. We all know very well what we mean by intelligence or an intelligent system. The term we use a lot, we think about others, as being intelligent. I mean, people in universities, especially top universities, are considered very intelligent and so on. So, I would like to ask you, instead of me telling you what intelligence is all about, I would like to ask you to tell me what intelligence is about, what's involved when we're talking about intelligence. And just to get you going on this, I will ask you then in just a minute, just to get you going on this, I would like to use the smart board, and I will get you started. So, logical reasoning, there is a bit of a delay on the smart board, which is due to the technology, limitations of the technology. So this is why I have to write slowly. I can write faster than this, but I have to write slowly because I'm limited by the technology. So I guess one point would be logical reasoning. Another one might be, say, playing chess. We mentioned that before. Now, I would like to switch to the students in Zurich, and maybe Simon, you can take over. And I would like to ask the students in Zurich to tell me, what is involved in intelligence. What do you think intelligence is all about?
Okay,
I have here 2 examples. Yep. Okay, Simon.
Okay, I'm going to ask the students what they think intelligence can be. So, if any student have some suggestions about what intelligence is, please tell it. Some key words about what intelligence could be related to. I think. Well, I'll start with maybe one word. I don't know, adaptivity.
Okay. Adaptivity. I think
don't be shy. I won't hear you. It's only my voice which is sent. Any other suggestion? Yes, over there. Creativity. Well, I think maybe the picture should be left on me. Okay, thank you. Any other suggestion? Yes. Capability to learn. Yes. Interaction. Was another suggestion over there? I saw a hand. No, it was just me dreaming. Any other suggestion? Or I would say maybe diversity.
Diversity of what, Simon?
Diversity of, behavior. That could be maybe a more general diversity. Reasoning. Okay, so any last suggestion? Okay, I think that's all for us. Thank you. I'm going to give it back to you.
Okay, thanks very much, Zurich. I think we still don't have a complete list, so I would like now to Oh, we have a problem in Beijing, so let me switch to Warsaw. Is Warsaw connected now? Can we switch to Warsaw for some statements about intelligence?
Warsaw is speaking. I'm asking the same question to my students. What you could add to this list of features?
Well, as I said last week, it is a kind of planning. That's my kind of process. That's all.
Have you heard me? A planning. Intelligence is just a process, not the individual event.
Okay. So let's stress the process aspect. I think that corresponds to modern thinking about intelligence. Yes? We have another statement from Warsaw?
Choosing what matters. So I mean selectivity.
Okay.
Hello?
Selectivity.
There's some more. I think the most important part is abstraction and ability to generalize what is connected to compression of information and generalization. So abstraction, generalization is the same term.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. So I think I would like to, I think this the list, we can still continue with the list. Maybe a last statement from the Munich side. So Mark, can you take over? Can we switch to Munich? Some ideas, additional ideas about what's involved in intelligence?
Speak up. Critical thought.
Oh.
Self-awareness. Imagination.
Slow down, please. Slow down. Yes. I can't. Okay.
You caught up?
No, not yet. The PowerPoint takes a while to save. Okay. Now I have self-awareness, right?
The last one, could you repeat?
Awareness and imagination. I think that was a
the
point.
Ability, yeah. The ability of learning and connecting information.
We've had learning before.
And there is criticism of the term intelligence here.
It's one of the most useless terms in artificial intelligence. I want to take issue. There's thinking and creating knowledge.
I want to take issue. I think intelligence is basically a useless term. And so what we are talking about is basically a useless term. Yeah? So let's have some fun in a discussion. It's creating knowledge, different kinds of knowledge. I think perception is in your world also intelligence. To have emotions, to have desires. So the entire realm of knowledge, of knowing, is probably what you mean with intelligence. So one task of the lecture should be to get rid of the term intelligence. How about that?
Okay, thank you, Ernst, for this provocative statement. And So we should get rid of the term intelligence. I actually think that's a good idea. I think that's a good idea. And I would suggest that rather than debating what intelligence is or isn't, we do the following. We have a phenomenon of interest, and then we're trying to figure out how it works. Okay, so let me just write this. Get as a suggestion by Ernst Peppel. So this is going to be live video streamed, so people will be able to read this after the lecture, right? This was your suggestion. Suggestion from Ernst Peppel in Munich. Get rid of term. So I think we could probably extend this list, indefinitely. I think there are other people who have realized that intelligence is a difficult concept. And for example, here I have a definition from the Penguin Dictionary of Psychology. Few concepts in psychology have received more devoted attention, and few have resisted clarification so thoroughly, which is from a well-known psychological dictionary, 1995. Now let's look at what some of the experts have said about intelligence. I think this probably supports the point that Ernst Peppel is making in Munich. Here are some definitions from 1921 from the Journal of Educational Psychology. So they were asking the well-known psychologists at the time how they would define intelligence, and I think this is a really interesting list. The ability to carry on abstract thinking, that was mentioned before in what you said. Then having the ability to learn or adjust oneself to the environment. I mean, adaptivity was mentioned, the ability to adapt. Biological. Now, here's. I mean, just if you think about definitions, if you say in a definition relatively new situations, to have that in a definition is kind of strange. There's another one here. This one I like. The biological and biological complexity of stimuli are brought together and given a somewhat unified effect in behavior. I also like this, in a definition. So if you have to give definitions, don't, use definitions like that. And here is kind of a really concise on the capacity to acquire capacity. So this guy wanted to be really, really concise. And then I guess the capacity to learn or profit from experience. So these are some definitions. But I think we're going to have problems giving, very good definitions that we will agree on, and maybe we should not try to actually make definitions. Here's one of the reasons why we should not attempt real definitions. I think, I can play chess personally. We've been talking about chess before. I can play chess, but I'm a very mediocre chess player. So if you would observe me play a game of chess, you would not be very impressed by my level of intelligence. Right. However, if you do the following, you now replace myself with a little girl, and the little girl would make exactly the same moves in this game of chess as I did. You would probably be very impressed by the level of intelligence of this girl. If you then replace the girl by a dog, and the dog would play the same game of chess, then you would probably think the dog is a genius. So we see that what we mean by intelligence also depends on our subjective expectations that we have. And so I don't think that we will ever be able to come up, with a definition that everybody agrees on. But we do have, I think, also from the discussion that we had just before, I think we can find a common denominator. And because we're running out of time, I think I will just mention two aspects that you will always find in intelligent systems. One is kind of compliance. So you are adjusting. Has to do, with adaptation in some sense. You're adjusting to the givens, if you like. You're adjusting to the givens. Compliance. Let's say, there is gravity, there is friction. There's no way in which you can act intelligently if you just deny that there is gravity. You have to kind of adjust to this. Or if you want to talk, you have to comply, at least to a certain extent, with the rules of the grammar of a particular language. I think it has to do with kind of adaptation. I mentioned that, I think Simon mentioned that in Zurich. That's, of course, in behavior. Behavioral diversity. Always do the same thing. You say something and I say, well, artificial intelligence is very important. And then you say, well, it was kind of warm in Tokyo, 20 degrees, but very humid. And then I say, artificial intelligence is very important. And then you say, well, but you didn't reply to my comment. And then I say, well, artificial intelligence is very important. Then you wouldn't consider that behavior, very intelligent, because it's not diverse. It's always doing the same thing. So I think these two, and throughout the field of psychology, cognitive science, artificial intelligence, this comes about in various forms. And in some fields, it's called the stability plasticity dilemma in learning theory, in evolutionary theory, and we'll come back to that later on. In evolutionary theory, some of you may know that this is called the exploitation I think this is a kind of interesting common denominator, and what we intuitively consider to be intelligent systems always solve this trade-off in an interesting way. So you always have exploitation of the givens and diversity. Okay, now let's look at the problem of intelligence differently. If you want to figure out whether something, an animal, a human, or an artifact, a robot, for example, or a computer is intelligent, what you can do is interact with it, right? You interact with it, and then you're trying to see how it reacts, and from that, you're trying to conclude whether it's intelligent or not. And let me show you an example from Japan, and maybe we can have the first video where you see children interacting with robots. This is an experiment that was done in Japan. So Yoshi-san, can you show?
Can you
switch, Hanspeter, can you switch to full screen, please?
人と友達になれるロボットを目指して開発されたロボビー。この研究所の石黒博さんたちが研究を進めているものです。ロボビーは言葉を交わしたり、体に触れ合うことで人とコミュニケーションが取れるように設計されています。腕や腹など16箇所にある銀色のシートは感圧センサーで人の皮膚に当たり触ると敏感に反応します。相手からの働きかけに対し800通りの行動パターンを自分で判断して返します。センサーを撫でられたり優しい言葉をかけられると人に甘える仕草も見せます。しかし実社会に出してみるとまだ課題が山積みであることが分かってきました。 小学校でロボビーに英語を話させ、海外からの転校生として子供たちと友達になれるか観察しました。あちこちのセンサーを触られ、複数の子供から話しかけられたロボビーは、誰と話していいか分からず混乱してしまったのです。
Okay, well, thank you for the video. So you can see that if you're trying to find out whether, maybe we can just leave it in full screen. We have another video which is following. So you can interact with it, and then based on the interaction, you then basically make your judgment, intelligent or not intelligent. We have another video where we actually have two dogs interacting with each other. One is a natural dog, and the other is an artificial dog, a robot dog, which was also developed in Japan. And now, this is a very short video. I think it's about half a minute. Two dogs interacting, a real dog and a robot dog. Can we have the next video, please? So the question here is, whether the real dog actually thought the robot dog was also a real dog. I mean, we will never know exactly, but certainly its reaction demonstrates that there is something to the behavior of the robot dog that the real dog didn't like. Okay, now, who is this man? Maybe the students in Tokyo. Who is this man? No, do we have other suggestions?
Turing.
Alan Turing, exactly. This is Alan Turing, famous mathematician in the 20th century, co-developer of the digital computer, and he thought about this issue of intelligence, and I think maybe he had a similar feeling to Ernst Pöppel in Munich. He was tired of all these discussions, saying, well, is this intelligent, not intelligent? Well, are ants intelligent? Maybe ants aren't really intelligent, but maybe whole ant colonies can be intelligent, but then they're still different from humans, and, all that discussion. He was tired of that and said, well, can we get rid of these discussions and maybe make a test, an empirical test by which we can find out whether something is intelligent or not? And basically what these children were doing with the robot is a kind of test that was performed by Alan Turing, the so-called Turing test. And let me just briefly explain what the Turing test is actually about. It's now often used to test intelligence. Okay, so we have here, this person here is an interrogator. He or she is connected, but doesn't see it via just a cable connected to two people, a woman and a man. And the interrogator has to find out so he doesn't know who sits behind the Y and who sits behind the X. Now he has to find out whether it's the man or the woman. So he has to say Y is B, or Y is the woman, and X is the man, or Y is the man, and X is the woman. Now the point is that the woman is supposed to help the interrogator. So trying to kind of get him to make the right decision, right? And the man is trying to confuse the interrogator. Okay? Now the question, you can think about what sorts of questions you would be asking if you were the interrogator and what sorts of answers you would give. Now what Turing suggested is to say, okay, well let's take A. the man and replace the man by a computer. The interrogator has the same level of difficulty in figuring out who is the man and who is the woman, and the computer, can't figure out. Then we can say that the computer is intelligent. Okay, so that's the famous Turing test that now comes in many variations, and I would like to kindly ask you to think about this Turing test. Do you think, personally, as kind of a homework assignment, do you think this is a good test for intelligence? Do you like the test? Here, there is. I'm running out of time. I will cut a long story short. There is a competition in Boston where you can send in your computer programs, and then there's a jury, testing whether your computer program passes this Turing test. Some people suggested by the end of the last century we would have computer programs that actually passed the Turing test. We're far from it. Now, this has also been criticized, and there's a lot of criticism. That's why I'm sort of asking you. I have to come to a close here to think about this. One criticism is by John Searle, famous American philosopher John Searle, who suggested the Chinese room experiment as a criticism of the Turing test. Now, since we have to come to the last part, the latest from Japan, what I would like to do is just give this as an assignment to the students in Beijing. I would ask the moderators to see that we have a 5 to 7 minute statement at the beginning of the next lecture about this Chinese room experiment. I think the people in China should think about the Chinese room experiment. Okay. Measuring intelligence I will do next time. I will start with this next week, and so I'm not going to do the IQ. I think we have to do that next week. Also the synthetic methodology. And please check the internet for assignments. What I would like to do now is, and this is the second part that we will always have in these lectures, we will have, now of course we had the introductory session, but normally we will just start with the academic session and then we have more time for the latest from Japan. But now I think we still can take out about 10 minutes, and Professor Kunyoshi has kindly volunteered to talk very briefly about his research, and I think he's going to show us some very exciting and fun experiments that he and his students did here in Tokyo. And I will just pass the floor to you, and we have to see that we can find your Also, if you have questions to Professor Kunyoshi in any of the sites, you can always ask questions, if you like.
Thank you, Rolf. So I'm going to briefly, as emphasized by Rolf, our latest topic. It's about the whole body motion of a humanoid robot. So the title says exploiting the global dynamic structure of whole body humanoid motion. And what's important is getting the neck of roll and rise motion. And the work is with two of my students, Yoshiyuki Omura, Koji Terada, and external collaborators Tomoyuki Yamamoto and Akihiko Nagakubo. So what I'm interested in is we are doing humanoid robots, but our particular interest is first robustness and dexterity in the real world. So everybody is doing biped walking nowadays. So we've been looking for something other than walking, and there are a lot of things that you could think of, that a human can do in complex environment. So skills in complex and uncertain and changing environment is very important. And here's this important issue as also appeared in Rolf's talk, adaptation versus stability issues. Also, the reason why I'm presenting this topic here is because it's related to embodied cognition in humanoids. I'm interested in how, particularly symbolic information emerge from the body dynamics. And it's related to communication and learning of skills. Okay? So, briefly, what we are currently doing, we are focusing on a particular motion called roll and rise. And it's like this, robot lying flat on the floor, and then swing up the leg, and then swing it down, and then in one action stand on the feet. And it's a very skillful whole body dynamic motion. And there are lots of perturbations because you roll on the floor, you get various forces acting on your back. And also you need a very instantaneous force you have to exert. So it's a little different from traditional robotic tasks. So there are actually several work in the past for trying to make the robot rise from the lying flat position, but nobody has yet achieved with a real human-sized robot, a very dynamic one. So we first what we did is to experiment with human subject how human does. And please play the first video. That's the motion capture data, the human subject doing the roll and rise motion. Okay, flip back to the slide. And we found, by analyzing the data, we found quite an interesting thing, that this is a trajectory of the motion from many trials overlaid in different colors. So what you see is a convergent part and scattering part, like this is scattered part. So that means that this task has a non-uniform structure. In other words, human strategy is like not to try to control the entire task uniformly, but it focuses on particular points, important points, and it controls rather roughly, leave it to nature in other parts. So we think these are kind of very important parts. We did some analysis on certain structure. This shows that out of all the possible states, only the red region leads to the success of the task, which means there are certain very narrow paths, and also there are other parts which has rather broad pathways like this. The red region is broader across the pathway. So this shows the entire task lying flat here and standing up here. There are pathways connecting from initial to the goal. At some point, you take it easy. The path is broad. At some point, it's very narrow. You have to satisfy very strict conditions. So what it means, we call these necks, these yellow, very narrow conditions. You have to satisfy these. You have to be careful at these points. We call it these necks. And the important thing is that these emerge from the pure physics, the interaction between body and the environment. And because these are necks, it's used for not just controlling the body, but also it's useful when you try to communicate skills to somebody else. So that's why I think it's important to investigate such task. Now, we did some experiments because you have to do experiments always, and it's simulation always cannot fully capture the phenomena. This is a humanoid robot, Al-Daniel Study 1, which we developed. Its height is 1.5 meters, weight is 70 kilos. So it's adult-size robot. It's got quite powerful configuration, and we have all these advanced controlled, very fast control network and high power supplies and everything. And finally, we did a successful experiment. Video number 2, please. Swings up, and then in one action it stands up. That's a successful case. Okay. However, it was not that easy. Here are some prior trials up to the successful point. Please play the video 3. This was the initial phase. We just couldn't make the thing move fast enough. So the first step was to make it faster. Okay? Now, second, we're coming close. The only thing was that to achieve the very correct timing. Okay, now this is a very outrageous, movement. You can see that it's almost floating in the air. So how dynamic can this motion can be? That was close. That was a bug. That was a bug in the motion. Close. Yeah, coming close. Now it's almost going over the potential barrier. Now that was almost success because it went across the potential barrier. Now this is the final stage. Almost, but it was trying to balance on its feet using the gyros. Oops, that was a bad accident. He broke his backbone. But finally, we got it. So,
can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Is there any learning? We talked about learning as being an essential component of any intelligent system. So, is there any learning involved in this?
There's no online learning. However, what we did in coming up with this particular successful motion was exploiting the vast search through the possible space of actions using computer. But there was with some help of human intuitions. Okay, so it's half automatic, half human-assisted learning, you could say. But of course, our aim is to come up with a system that can automatically acquire these X in various tasks. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Professor Kunyoshi, for this exciting, presenting us this exciting research. So I'm now coming to the end of the lecture. Let me just go back to the previous presentation for the final slide. Okay. What I will do at the end of every lecture, as I said, I had a list of topics. I expect you next week to know about these topics. We haven't talked about IQ yet, intelligence testing, and we haven't talked about synthetic methodology. We will do that at the beginning of the lecture next week. Here is the assignment. So read Chapter 1 of Understanding Intelligence. In Japanese, it's called Chinososei. Classwork Exercise 1, which you can download from the internet, from the webpage. And I think it will be extremely useful for the discussion also and to get a feel if you have the opportunity to take an IQ test yourself. I mean, you all know about IQ, so please do take an IQ test yourself. Check out the webpage. And then let's not forget the special assignment for Beijing, which is a short, maybe 5 to 7 minute introduction and criticism of the famous Chinese room thought experiment by John Searle. So, well, I'm very excited about this, and I'm also very pleased that most of what we intended to do actually worked. We also got some interaction going. I'm very happy about that. We had all the sites, at least for some time, connected. We had speakers from all the sites. We had interaction with all the sites. We had a brilliant presentation at the end by Professor Kuniyoshi, the latest from Japan. So thank you very much for your kind attention, and see you all in the global virtual lecture theater next week. Thank you very much. Okay. So I think, if I'm correct, there is an interview with Munich. Is that correct, Britta?
Yeah, that's correct. Could you come out, please? Mikrofon.
Okay.
So ungefähr. Yeah.
Pardon me?
Eine Frage, kann ich das Interview auf Deutsch machen für unsere Hörer?
The lecture. You're welcome to hang around, but basically this is, you're welcome to leave or stay around. Maybe you want to talk over the microphone with someone at another site. We will leave the video conferencing system running for a little while. So maybe you want to talk to some people, maybe you get to know some people over time. But basically this is the end of the lecture, so you're welcome to go your own way. Thank you very much for your attention.
Soll ich einfach anfangen, oder? Gott, Professor Pfeifer?
Ja, here, speaking. Hi.
Ja, eine Frage, kann ich das Interview auf Deutsch machen für unsere Hörer? Die Vorlesung ist vorbei.
Kein Problem.
Wunderbar. Mein Name ist Yvonne Unger vom Bayerischen Rundfunk, Redaktion Bildungspolitik, Hörfunk.
Freut mich.
Für Sie war es jetzt das erste Mal, eine Vorlesung in dieser Form zu veranstalten. Wie fühlt man sich da so?
Bitte, es ist da etwas laut im Hörsaal. Können Sie etwas lauter sprechen, bitte?
Ja. Für Sie war es jetzt auch das erste Mal, eine Vorlesung in dieser Form abzuhalten. Wie fühlt man sich so? Wie war es?
Ja, also ich muss sagen, es ist nicht, also ich bin natürlich sehr, wirklich, es ist very exciting. Ich kann das nicht so gut auf Deutsch sagen, es ist very exciting. Es ist für mich eine super Erfahrung. Es ist auch irgendwie eigenartig, nicht? Also man sieht die Leute, man interagiert mit den Leuten auf der ganzen Welt, nicht? Man ist so zusammen und ist doch nicht richtig zusammen. Also es ist irgendwie ein einmaliges Erlebnis.
Das sind ja erst die Anfänge von Vorlesungen, die in dieser Form ja weiter auch noch stattfinden sollen. Welche Erwartungen haben Sie denn in die Zukunft?
Gut, also ich denke, dass irgendwelche Formen von elektronischer Kommunikation eine zentrale Rolle spielen werden. Jetzt wie das genau aussehen wird, was das genau sein wird, weiß ich nicht. Wir hoffen, dass dieses Experiment, das wir hier machen, dazu beiträgt, Formen zu finden. Wir haben ja nicht nur dieses Videoconferencing-System, nicht die Idee war, mit dem Videoconferencing ein Event zu haben, wo die Studenten gerne teilnehmen. Also dass die Studenten gerne in eine Lehrveranstaltung kommen, wo wir ihnen was bieten, wo sie international vernetzt sind, wo sie die Möglichkeit haben, auch Leute kennenzulernen in anderen Sites. Nicht Networking ist ein Wort, oder vielleicht auch eben Freunde zu gewinnen in anderen Sites. Dann haben wir eine Webseite, ich denke eine sehr schöne Webseite, die ebenfalls ein zentraler, integrierter Bestandteil ist dieser Veranstaltung. Wir wollten aber nicht nur eine Webseite haben. Wir wollten nicht nur das Asynchrone haben, sondern es war für uns wichtig, dass das wirklich diesen Event-Charakter hat und dass das die Leute anziehen und motivieren soll. Und dann haben wir natürlich immer noch ein Buch, ein traditionelles Lehrbuch. Nicht? Also ich denke, Vielleicht ist das mit der Zeit, gibt es auch nicht mehr, aber im Moment denke ich, ein Lehrbuch ist auch noch ein wichtiger Bestandteil. Das könnte natürlich auch ein elektronisches Buch sein.
Ich habe jetzt die vergangenen 2 Stunden die Veranstaltung mit großem Interesse verfolgt und es gab noch einige kleine technische Probleme, insbesondere mit Peking, ein bisschen auch mit Warschau. Wie wollen Sie das denn noch in den Griff bekommen?
Gut, also wir haben viele Tests gemacht bis jetzt. Das hat praktisch immer sehr gut geklappt. Peking hat bis jetzt immer am besten geklappt von allen, und zwar weil das ist übrigens noch ein interessantes Detail, die haben sehr viel Erfahrung in Videoconferencing, haben sehr viel investiert, und zwar auch wegen SARS. Die sind also gewissermaßen zu Experten geworden wegen SARS. Wegen Reiseverbot mussten die dann die wissenschaftlichen Konferenzen über Videoconferencing durchführen und waren eigentlich immer perfekt, waren immer die ersten problemlos verbunden, und deshalb überrascht es mich sehr, dass wir heute mit Peking Probleme hatten. Warschau hatten wir eher Probleme, aber das hat auch meistens geklappt. Wir haben immer kleine technische Probleme.
Ist denn geplant, in Zukunft noch mehr Universitäten in dieses Videoconferencing mit einzubeziehen?
Ja, das ist eine gute Frage. Also ich denke, wir müssen jetzt mal mit diesen 5 Universitäten Erfahrungen sammeln. Sind das zu viele? Wie sieht das aus? Funktioniert das gut? Wir werden das auch parallel dazu evaluieren. Also wir arbeiten da zusammen mit den Leuten aus der Medienpädagogik. Ob das von den Studierenden geschätzt wird, dass man jetzt diese verschiedenen Sites hat, oder ist es so, dass halt, wenn so viele Unis beteiligt sind, dass dann die Einzelnen zu kurz kommen und dass man das Gefühl hat, man kommt gar nicht richtig zum Interagieren mit dem Dozenten. Also ich denke, das ist eine empirische Frage. Das werden wir dann im Verlauf dieser Lectures sehen, in welche Richtung das gehen wird, ob wir mehr dazu nehmen wollen oder ob wir zurückgehen auf weniger.
Was hat denn das Projekt bis jetzt gekostet?
Ja, also das wissen wir nicht so genau. Also ich würde sagen, es kommt darauf an, was man alles dazu rechnet. Nicht, wenn man meine eigene Zeit dazu rechnet, wenn man die Zeit nicht des Projektmanagements dazu rechnet. All die Leute, was ja Britta Glatzeder erwähnt hat, nicht am Anfang, all die 90 Leute mitrechnet, die da in ihrer Arbeitszeit mitgearbeitet haben. Aber ich denke, das ist sicher in der Größenordnung von 200.000 bis 500.000 Euro.
Jetzt ist es ja so, dass an Universitäten Gelder gestrichen werden. Viele Unis sind knapp bei Kasse. Auf diese Weise kann man natürlich den Studenten ermöglichen, Veranstaltungen zu besuchen, die sie sonst vielleicht nicht sehen könnten, weil die Dozenten und die Vorlesungen nicht eingerichtet werden könnten. Sehen Sie da neue Möglichkeiten, auch die Kassen der Unis zu entlasten?
Ja, absolut. Ich meine, wenn das wirklich klappt und wenn das erfolgreich ist und wenn auch der Lerneffekt von solchen Lehrveranstaltungen da ist und wir dann sagen können, wir könnten auch mehr Sites dazu nehmen, dann gibt es nicht nur die Möglichkeit, Unikassen zu entlasten, also die Münchner, die müssen dann keinen speziellen Dozenten einsetzen, wir müssen also keinen teuren, in Anführungszeichen, Professor bezahlen für die Vorlesung, sondern die können das über Moderatoren, lokale Moderatoren lösen. Es gibt auch die Möglichkeit, das schauen wir auch an, dass man Entwicklungsländer beispielsweise oder Länder, die als Ganzes nicht, zu den reichen Ländern gehören, dass die Möglichkeit haben, an Lehrmaterial ranzukommen, an das sie sonst nicht einfach so rankommen könnten. Das macht man ja schon jetzt über Internet, über Kurse, die übers Internet angeboten werden. Aber ich hoffe und ich denke, das ist auch spannend für die Leute, wenn sie live so eine Veranstaltung miterleben können. Und auch was wir am Schluss gesehen haben, also Professor Kuniyoshi, was ich hoffe dann, ist, dass die Leute auch anfangen, mit diesen Leuten, die the latest from Japan präsentieren, also dass das ein Event ist und dass sie auch interagieren können mit den Leuten. Also dass man die Online-Interaktion hat mit dem Dozenten, mit den Präsentatoren, das halte ich für eine zentrale Angelegenheit.
Herr Professor Pfeifer, haben Sie ganz herzlichen Dank für Ihre Zeit. Auf Wiedersehen.
Sehr gern geschehen. Sehr gern geschehen. Es freut mich und ich danke für Ihr Interesse. Wiedersehen. See you some other time in virtual space.